The scream tore across the bright afternoon ocean like a warning from fate itself. Hundreds of feet from shore, aboard one of the most luxurious yachts in the country, a man disappeared beneath the sparkling blue water. Guests gasped. Crew members rushed toward the railing. And standing at the center of the chaos was billionaire CEO Vivian Sterling, her hand still extended from the shove that had sent the stranger overboard. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Nobody realized that the man sinking beneath the waves carried the answer to a mystery that had haunted Vivian's family for 14 long years. And within minutes, everything she believed about herself was about to change forever. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of doing what's right even when nobody is watching, please like this video, comment below, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness for more emotional and inspiring stories. The afternoon had started perfectly. The sky was clear and bright. The ocean stretched endlessly beneath the warm daylight. Vivian Sterling stood proudly on the deck of her $70 million yacht as investors, executives, and celebrities mingled around her. At 40 years old, Vivian had built one of the most successful companies in the world. She appeared on magazine covers. She spoke at international conferences. Her name represented power, success, and influence. Yet behind the polished image was a woman carrying a wound that never healed. 14 years earlier, her father, Leonard Sterling, vanished during a private flight over the Atlantic Ocean. Search teams spent months looking. Experts investigated every possibility. News channels covered the story endlessly. But the aircraft was never found. The black box was never recovered. And Leonard Sterling simply disappeared from the world. The uncertainty destroyed Vivian. Over time, grief hardened her heart. She learned to trust contracts instead of people. Numbers instead of emotions. Success instead of relationships. By the time she reached the top of the corporate world, she had become someone who rarely allowed anyone close enough to disappoint her. Several hundred miles away, another life looked very different. 43-year-old Callum Reeves lived in a small coastal town with his 11-year-old daughter, Sophie. Callum was a commercial diver. His wife had passed away 6 years earlier after a long battle with illness. The loss left him emotionally shattered and financially overwhelmed. Medical debt consumed nearly everything they owned. Every morning before sunrise, Callum headed to work. Every evening he returned exhausted. Yet despite all the hardship, he remained devoted to Sophie. She was his reason for continuing forward. She was the light that kept him going through the darkest days. 1 week before the incident on the yacht, Callum accepted a difficult underwater salvage assignment near a remote section of coastline. The work was dangerous. Visibility underwater was poor. Strong currents pushed constantly against divers. While searching beneath layers of coral and debris, something unusual caught his attention. Partially buried beneath the ocean floor sat a heavily damaged metal object. Curious, Callum carefully uncovered it. What emerged stunned him. It was a flight recorder. A black box. Years underwater had scarred its surface, but identification markings remained visible. After returning home, Callum spent several evenings researching the serial numbers. When he finally discovered where the recorder came from, he sat speechless at his kitchen table. The black box belonged to Leonard Sterling's missing aircraft. For 14 years, investigators had searched unsuccessfully. Now the evidence sat in front of him. Callum knew the discovery could attract media attention. People might offer money. News stations might compete for interviews. But none of that interested him. All he could think about was a daughter who had spent 14 years without answers. He knew exactly what loss felt like. And he knew how valuable closure could be. After learning that Vivian's yacht would be traveling through the area, he decided to deliver the black box personally. Not because he wanted recognition. Because it felt like the right thing to do. The next afternoon, he borrowed a small fishing boat and headed toward the massive yacht. The difference between their worlds could not have been greater. The yacht resembled a floating palace. Callum's boat looked tiny beside it. As he approached, security immediately became suspicious. A man in worn work clothes carrying a waterproof case did not fit among billionaires and celebrities. Crew members blocked him before he could explain. Guests watched from a distance. Assumptions formed quickly. Some believed he wanted money. Others thought he was attempting a publicity stunt. The more Callum tried to speak, the less anyone listened. Eventually, the commotion attracted Vivian's attention. Already frustrated by business negotiations and constant demands, she arrived with little patience remaining. From her perspective, she saw only a stranger causing problems. She noticed his rough appearance. She noticed security's concern. She noticed the mysterious case under his arm. Years of distrust shaped her judgment. She never gave him the chance to explain. As tensions escalated, confusion erupted. Someone grabbed for the case. Callum pulled back instinctively. Vivian reacted emotionally. One sudden movement changed everything. Her hands pushed against his chest. Callum stumbled backward. The world seemed to slow. Then he disappeared over the side. The ocean swallowed him instantly. A collective gasp spread across the deck. Shock froze everyone in place. For several terrifying seconds, only rippling water remained visible. Then something extraordinary happened. Callum resurfaced. One hand fought against the waves. The other held the waterproof case high above his head. Even while struggling in the ocean, he protected its contents. Crew members hurried to lower a rescue ladder. When Callum climbed back aboard, water streamed from his clothing. The deck fell silent. Nobody knew what to say. Without anger or accusation, Callum carefully opened the case. Inside sat the damaged black box. The moment Vivian saw it, her heart nearly stopped. The identification markings were unmistakable. Her father's aircraft. The aircraft missing for 14 years. Suddenly, the successful CEO disappeared. In her place stood a daughter desperate for answers. Tears filled her eyes. Her hands trembled. For the first time in years, hope entered her heart. The black box was immediately transported to aviation specialists. Investigators worked around the clock. Experts carefully analyzed every piece of data that remained. Meanwhile, Callum quietly returned home. He expected nothing in return. No reward, no publicity, no recognition. That evening, he sat with Sophie on the porch of their small house, watching seabirds drift across the afternoon sky. He felt peace knowing he had done the right thing. 3 days later, the investigation reached a breakthrough. The recorder contained enough information to finally explain what happened to Leonard Sterling's aircraft. The crash had been caused by a catastrophic mechanical failure. Most importantly, investigators recovered portions of Leonard's final recorded messages. Messages intended for his family. Messages lost for 14 years. When Vivian listened to her father's voice again, she broke down completely. She sat alone in a quiet room as tears streamed down her face. Every wall she had built around her heart began to crumble. Her father's final words were not about wealth. Not about business. Not about success. They were about family, compassion, forgiveness, and helping others whenever possible. Listening to those messages forced Vivian to confront an uncomfortable truth. The very values her father cherished were the values she had abandoned. And the man she had pushed into the ocean embodied those values better than she did. The realization changed her forever. The following week, Vivian drove personally to Callum's home. No cameras followed her. No reporters were invited. This was not a publicity event. It was something far more important. She wanted to apologize. Standing outside the modest house, she noticed details she had never paid attention to before. A bicycle leaning against the porch. A small garden struggling to grow. Paint peeling from old wooden walls. Signs of a family doing its best despite difficult circumstances. When Sophie opened the door, Vivian saw innocence, kindness, and resilience reflected in the young girl's eyes. The meeting that followed lasted hours. For the first time in years, Vivian spoke honestly about her grief. Callum shared stories about losing his wife. They discovered that pain looked different in every life, but hurt the same in every heart. Something remarkable happened that afternoon. Two people from completely different worlds found common ground. Not through wealth, not through status, but through shared humanity. Over the following months, Vivian began transforming her life. Her company expanded employee support programs. Scholarships were created. Community initiatives received funding. Most importantly, she established a foundation dedicated to helping single parents facing financial hardship. Thousands of families benefited. Countless children received opportunities their parents could never afford. Each project carried a reminder of the lesson Callum had taught her. Kindness matters. Months later, Vivian invited Callum and Sophie aboard the yacht once again. This time the atmosphere felt entirely different. No suspicion, no anger, No misunderstanding, only gratitude. As the yacht sailed beneath the bright afternoon sky, Sophie laughed while watching dolphins leap beside the vessel. Callum smiled. Vivian smiled. For the first time in many years, peace replaced grief. Her father's mystery had finally been solved. More importantly, she had rediscovered the values he wanted her to remember. As the ocean sparkled around them, Vivian realized something profound. The greatest gift she ever received did not come from wealth or success. It came from a struggling single father who chose compassion when he could have chosen resentment. Before we reach the ending, if this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that inspire hope and compassion around the world. Star special request. Comment, kindness changes everything. If you believe one act of goodness can transform an entire life. Years later, people would remember Vivian Sterling as a visionary leader who changed countless lives through generosity and compassion. But she never forgot where that transformation began. It began with a mistake. A fall into the ocean. A black box lifted above the waves. And a single father who refused to let bitterness sink his heart. Because sometimes the answers we search for are hidden beneath the surface. Sometimes healing arrives through unexpected people. And sometimes the person the world overlooks becomes the hero who changes everything. As the yacht moved peacefully across the bright blue sea that afternoon, Callum watched Sophie smile and felt grateful for the strange path life had taken. The ocean that once separated two worlds had become the bridge that connected them. And in that moment, everyone aboard understood a simple truth. Kindness never disappears. Like hope, it always finds a way to rise back to the surface.